Welcome back to another Pokemon video. Today's subject matter is Tropius, also known as Tropius in Japanese. And we're going to be looking at the cards for Tropius, the 18 different artworks that have been used. But we'll start by just looking at the three figures. That's the Zukan one, 1/40th scale. That's the trading figure game one. And this is the Tomi Monko. Well, all very lovely figures. Right, so we'll look at, we'll look at the 18 cards that I've put in order of my favourite artwork. So I'm going to go through the first 8 very quickly because they didn't make my top 10. And the first one is Miki Tanaka's one from EX Deoxys and Curse of the Blue Sky, 2004-2005. This is the only regular hollow of Tropius there's ever been. And I'm not a fan of Miki Tanaka very much. So that was 18. At 17, Shigenori Negishi from Megalocannon and Plasma Blast. As I say, I'm not going to talk much about the ones that didn't make my top 10 because the video would end up being too long. Nishida's Farina's Tropius, which was the first ever Tropius card printed in July of 2003, 6 months before it appeared in a set as a set card. And although I like Atsuka Nishida, this doesn't particularly hit for me. And in 15th place I've gone for Shin Nagasawa, and this was from 2022's Starbirth and Brilliant Stars, and it's a little bit Muppety for me. I don't particularly like it. In 14th place, Kazuki Kano, and although I do like the placement of Tropius in this card from Secrets of the Lakes in 2007 and Mysterious Treasures in August 2007, the head's too big, looks too bobbleheady. Yeah, I do like it standing on the bottom of the frame like this. The background, there's nothing particularly interesting about the dark trees in the background. It could be higher, but it's not. So that is Kano. At 13, I've gone for Kyoko Umamoto from, and this is from Emerald Break in 2015 and Roaring Skies, the English one, in 2015. And I'm not particularly keen on the pose of a Tropius in the middle of flight throwing its head back. That kind of seems a bit weird. But the background's interesting in that it's, it brings back the feel of the game, the Gen 3 games with the Treetop Village. Can't remember the name of the place. But yeah, we're not going to talk too much about these ones because, as I say, they don't make my top 10. So that was Umamoto at 13. I've put Komayama at 12. There are 4 versions of this because it was reprinted. The Japanese one was reprinted in Start Deck 100. And the original Japanese one was from the Venusaur VMAX starter deck in December of 2020. In English we got it in Shining Fates. The pose is a little bit confused to me because it almost looks Escher-like in that, are we looking at its side or its rump? We are actually looking at its rear end. And the whole thing looks like it's tipping over a bit, but it's okay. It doesn't really thrill me. So that's Akira Komayama at 12. And finally, for the quick looks, we've got Ken Sugimori at number 11, from the Bonds to the End of Time in December of 08, and Rising Rivals in May of 2009. And this was the same artwork used on the pre-release for Rising Rivals, so there is a pre-release stamped one and also a staff stamped one that I don't have because they're too expensive. If I like the card more, I'd probably chase them down, but at the moment it's not a priority. Sugimori's art is great. It's the standard for what we expect the Pokemon to look like. The background is usually a generic stock art image of some trees or grass or whatever, and there we have it. But it's a clean bit of Sugimori art, very good, but it doesn't thrill me. This one actually, number 10, we'll slow it down a little bit. This is Himeno, Kagamaru Himeno, or Himamaru as she likes to be called. and this is from the Sky Splitting Charisma in this one, in June of 2018, and Celestial Storm of August 2018, I think it's well, it's 2018. So very complicated jungle background. Himamaru's really gone to town on the background. I don't really like the artwork particularly. I far preferred Himamaru's art when she was doing the up to about Diamond and Pearl. She was, I think, painting it rather than on a computer. This feels very flat and plasticated, so it doesn't hugely appeal. Right, at number 9, an artist that's fairly new to the Pokemon game, Jerky. He's been given a lot of big cards in the last few sets and was given the art rare. The style he's used on this one is very Art Deco 1920s feel, very flat. It's very vibrant, colourful. I think it's a very well done card for what it was supposed to be doing, an art rare. So I've given Jerky, who I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like most of the stuff they've done, but this one appeals to me enough that it makes my number 9 spot. And that's obviously from Paldea Evolved in this year, June 23. Triplet Beat in March was where it first came out in Japanese. So number 8, we've gone for Oswaldo Kato. This was reprinted in the Start Deck 100 with a mirror foil as well, so those are the reprints, but originally in Japanese it was in Blue Sky Stream of July 21 and Evolving Skies of August 21. And Kato is very good. Rather like Jerky, has got a slightly deco style, very flat colours, excellent choice of angle, pose, whatever you call it. Really very dramatic card, beautifully done. From here on in, everything is cards that I really like. So that's Oswaldo Kato at number 8. Koiki Saito gets number 7 in my list with the original set card from Undone Seal of January 2004. June 2004 for the English, I think. The English reverses are, you can't really see through these frosted sleeves, but you've got the energy symbols and energy symbols in the bit. So I'm a big fan of Koiki Saito. This is not particularly an interesting piece of his work, but it's good enough. So yeah, that is the first set Tropius card and the first English Tropius card. So number 6, I've gone for Match for number 6, and this came out in the, that's the Italian one, we don't want that one. This came out in the Torterra Battle Deck in November of 2009, and then in English it was included in Unleashed of May 2010. Match has gone for a much more olive-toned green as compared to the other artists who've tackled Tropius. Angled from above, solid black outlines. I like that a lot. Nothing more to say. So that was Match at 6. At 5, I've gone for So-So. And I know there are people who absolutely adore So-So. Yeah, I do like So-So sometimes. This is Remix Bout of July 2019 and Cosmic Eclipse of November 2019. And it's a great piece of artwork. It's So-So. And you can see it's So-So. Very interesting how they do their outlines with the almost white outside of the line and pale inside the line. So it almost creates a sort of fuzzy image, but it's not fuzzy. Very interesting art style, and they do tend to do very cutesy images, and that's fine for Tropius. So we like Tropius. So that's So-So at 5. And at number 4, I put this one, which I've come to appreciate, and this is by Aoki, and it was in the Sprigatito Lucario Start Deck in Japanese in January of 23, and in Scarlet and Violet base set of March 2003 for English. And I love the lighting on it, the dappled light of the forest canopy falling on Tropius. The pose is interesting. It's just very competently painted. Really like that. Right, big shock now for number 3. Mitsuhiro Arita doesn't make number 1 in my list. That's simply because the 2 that beat it are so good. This is a great card, and it's probably the most competently painted card of all the ones you'll be seeing here. I mean, Mitsuhiro Arita as a painter is, in my eyes, leagues ahead of everyone else, but it's the only Tropius that's not grass type. This is a Steel Delta Pokemon, and this came out in Offense and Defense of the Furthest Ends in June 2006, and then was in Dragon Frontiers of November of that year. And obviously we get the English gets the amazing reverses. Yeah, the painting of it is brilliant, the lighting of it is brilliant, the framing is okay, it's interesting, but there are 2 cards I prefer to this, which means they must be very, very good, and they are. So in second place, another shock horror, Taira Akitsu doesn't get top place either, and I adore Taira Akitsu. This is another card from Triplet Beat of March of this year, 2023, Paldea Evolved. The jerky one was the art rare of this card, and my god, Taira Akitsu is talented as a digital artist painting. I've looked at this card before on my Akitsu video. If you don't think that's an amazing piece of artwork, you have no taste, because that is incredibly well conceived, constructed and executed. It's genius. So what has beaten that to the top? Well, it's the only one that we haven't had a look at, and it's Masakatsu Fukuda from the Steelix construction deck of February 2010 in Japanese, and Undaunted in August 2010. And I said on previous video, I think it was on the Ampharos video, Fukuda for me is hit and miss. I either absolutely adore his work or I really don't. This is one I absolutely adore. The joy of Tropius, brilliant. And the thick black outlines just do it. The framing of it, almost touching the frame on all sides. Yeah, that actually beats Akitsu and Arita for my favourite card. I love it. It's very cartoony, but it is just so good. Okay, so yeah, these are the top 3, and I hope somebody enjoyed that. If they didn't, tough. I do these for myself, so that's your video for today.